And there's a bit of a shuffle around with the program. Jeff Foster's coming in at 1:30. Louise Fowler has changed to tomorrow. So, Noel, you have been selected as the first cab off the rank post lunch. Please come up and have a seat.
Thank you, Darren. I'd actually like to stand if I could.
As long as the speaker picks you up and you project sufficiently, that's
If
fine.
everybody's comfortable with me standing?
Yep.
No objection? Yeah, that might be better, actually.
Here we
go. Te hei Māori ora, the breath of life. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. People, it is people, it is people. Your worship, councillors, community board member, Bluff Pool Committee, chairman, Southland District Council staff, and members of the public. I pretty hot about a subject in Bluff, and I think it's something that council needs to take on board as a responsibility. In the past, it was a responsibility of council, and I'm proposing that you take that responsibility back instead of passing it on to a committee. Fine and dandy having a committee that runs the pool down in Bluff, but the original responsibility of the pool, I believe, lies with the council, and that responsibility lies towards the community in Bluff. And I know there's been some fallacious comments made suggesting that ICC doesn't care about Bluff. Well, I don't agree with those sentiments. I actually think that Bluff is actually well cared for by ICC. I go to other suburbs in the city and I see lots of things that they don't get that Bluff gets. And like, we've got a very, very good children's playground there that I'm aware of. We were the first to get the LED lights, and you know, I can go at night and see all the stars, so I'm impressed. The road's getting fixed, lots of services done. So without ado, what I wanted to talk about was you should have had a document from Crown Loans provided to you. Yeah, and it talks about 5-year interest-free loans. Yeah. And it pretty much suggests that council would be eligible to get a loan to tidy up the pool and keep it going. And that's why I'm suggesting that you do the right thing and become responsible for the pool. And that will also, you know, put us under that assumption or that fallacious talk that goes on in places, which is like gossip, suggesting that ICC doesn't care, because I think you do care. I think you work very hard at what you do, councillors. And Mr. Mayor, I think you do as well. And like, I think you should be rewarded for that and respected for that. So that's about it from me. Questions?
Kia ora, thanks, Noel. Initially, through this process many years ago, council went out to consultation with the proposal to close the pool, and the Bluff community came back with the response of looking after it themselves. You've raised through your submission the opportunity for Crown loans, and I mean that's not the only avenue that council has for raising a loan. Obviously, we're part of the LGFA as well. The thing is, the loan has to be repaid. So do you see that as the repayment of the loan for this work as something that could be a targeted rate to fall on Bluff?
I think that's something to be debated and decided. Maybe that's something that we could look at into the future to see whether there is a targeted rate, but at least it keeps a critical asset open in Bluff, and I know that in Bluff it's something that the people really care about, and if council's going to invest some money in Bluff, albeit a loan, it's the pool that's one of the things that's going to really count. You know, I mean, we've still got rubbish bins rusting away on the street that we can't replace because there's no money, but people live with that. But I think the pool's really important. In fact, I see there's, you know, a lot more elderly people starting to use it, and I also see that there's what I guess you call a new generation of young people coming on in Bluff. And I've always said, and I think I said in my comments, that it's important that those young people learn to swim in Bluff, because it's a port, it's a seaport, and the chances are that they're going to get a job on a oyster boat or a fishing boat or something like that, and like, you know, someone that can't swim is at peril when they're at sea. So yeah, I'd be open to that, but I don't say that that's a solution. I actually do think that it might be something that just comes out of overall rates, but yeah, yet to be decided, and maybe the community board and the council can talk about that in the future.
Thanks, Noel. Councillors, questions? Councillor Soper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Noel, just interested, the idea of a key entry to the pool, do you think that's going to increase the usage?
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, you know, I'm not saying do away with the committee, and the committee's actually figured that out themselves. They can cut the costs down, and also have that. Well, it would be keyless entry. It's electronic entry, I think they're talking about. You know, sort of stepping into the digital world and the modern era. And yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Thank you.
Other questions, councillors? If not, thank you for your passion, Noel, for making a submission and coming along and presenting to us this afternoon.
Thank you for your time.
Jeff. Welcome along. For those people who weren't here this morning, submitters, you've got 10 minutes. There's the ding-dong that comes at 5 and another one at 10. If you want us to be able to ask questions, try and be finished before we get to the second bell. That would be awesome. You don't have to stand, Jeff. Please have a seat.
Big unit, eh? Thanks for your time. Yeah, I'm Jeff Folston. I'm the principal at Bluff School, so I've been part of the Bluff community for just over 2 years as the principal there. Yeah, I put a submission in after going to the pool meeting and some of the people around here, which are doing a fabulous job in Bluff. And I suppose for me, is supporting them and our tamariki. And actually being active, and I think some really cool things going on in Bluff at the moment. The use of the town hall with the support from some of the people down there getting our kids active, and for me, I think having the pool there is really crucial for Bluff and the community. What I've seen in my short time in Bluff is the pool is a really strong part of the community. There's a lot of traditional sports in Bluff. Swimming is one of them. Softball was regenerated in Bluff. Rugby's still popping along all right, but swimming's probably the one where they've got the support of the locals, and when it comes to swimming lessons, we're probably out of the sort of ILT zone, I suppose, if you say it, but so I mean, we have a lot of dedicated parents who come in and do swimming lessons at our school, and really for us, we walk down the road to the swimming pool, and if there's no pool there, it's going to be pretty hard work to come to Invercargill. And I know other places do it, but I've just noticed, coming from originally was at Lockyer, was a principal there, and just noticing without a pool there, the difference with the Bluff kids is they can swim really well, and probably what we're seeing now is actually our kids who do swimming lessons, and there's a high percentage do them, is actually they're starting to move through the grades, and some of them are actually getting up to sort of almost national level now with the squads in town, so they've had to move through that, but they had to start somewhere, and Bluff was the place. So, and I've probably noticed that one of our kids who was a bit of a behaviour issue, because of his movement with his swimming, we've seen a real change with him, and that's something that we, as people in education, really benefit, is seeing that he's made a difference. So I'm just here supporting keeping the pool open, and I know this pool committee won't be there forever. They're not getting any younger, some of them, Sandra, sorry about that. But, you know, but I think they've got their heart is in Bluff, and they want the pool to keep going, and I think I'm here to just totally support what Bluff's doing and keeping, I think, options to keep kids active. I think probably our kids, nothing against them, but they are a little inactive. Probably not the fittest units you'll ever meet in your life, but that's something we're trying to work on at the school as well, to try and build up that self-belief about them as well. And I think swimming is one thing that helps them. So thank you for your time, mate. never been here before, so it's exciting.
So far, so good, Jeff. Hey, look, as an educator, how difficult is it logistically to organise those bus trips now? So if you don't have a pool that you can walk around the corner to, and you've got to travel to Invercargill.
Well, probably for us, Darren, it's the cost of it as well. Like we'd have to pay for buses. Like I know, by the time you pay buses for, we've got 130 kids at school, and we've got there's another school with about 30 kids there as well, and it takes away your whole day as well. So like at the moment, you're taking away like every class gets 10 swimming lessons per year, as well as trying to use it for other things. So it just takes away from the education as well. If we have to drive to Invercargill, nothing against Invercargill, but it's 30 minutes, and by the time they swim and get back, like at the moment we use afternoons for sessions, so they go just after lunchtime and they're finished by the end of the day. So every class, it's not that much disruption really compared to what it could be, to be honest. So yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff, just a quick question. Do the staff of the school actually do the swim instruction?
Yes, they do. Yeah, so
I know that's up here. I wonder if they use it.
Yeah, we'd love to have. And we're lucky enough as we've got people in the community as well who come and support us through the swimming club and parents. We probably don't have swimming instructors in Bluff as some other areas do, so we're lucky, but we want to add to that as well hopefully through REAP. I know they touch on Bluff as well. It's something we're working on as well, Graham. So.
Thanks, Jeff.
Councillor Lush.
Yeah, Jeff, is the Bluff community able to access ICC ILT swim coaching? Is that something we?
No, we're not.
Because we're out of the area.
Yeah. So we're out of the area. Yeah. So,
is it as strict as that? Is it as prescriptive as that? Because we're out of the area, we can't do it.
Yeah. We're out of the area. Yeah. So we can't break in. Yeah.
Gee, where's the love? Okay.
There's a lot of love in Marcus.
It's an issue that you can raise with the Invercargill Licensing Trust themselves. Some of their schemes, they have gone outside of their area, but it's not something that sits with us. Councillor Kidd.
Not a question, but it might be to help. I believe the ILT and the City Council just recently have been in discussions regarding putting on a bus service to Splash Palace for swimming lessons. And that came from the head lady at the ILT and a staff member here.
Well, it hasn't hit us,
Anyone know
and
anything
we're in
about
an
it?
open meeting, so it's probably
No, not the place.
Councillor Alan Arnold. I've only got one of you now. That's right. Sorry,
Yes, which is thank you, Darren. It's only been a couple of years, but just a quick
I'm
question.
catching up.
Do you have any idea? It's on the same thing that Darren was asking a minute ago.
Yeah.
Is there a percentage of children that wouldn't be able to come to Invercargill to casually swim? And I'm presuming that all the children in Bluff casually swim as well.
Mm.
But how many of those that casually swim in Bluff wouldn't be able to probably come to Invercargill? Do you have any rough idea about that?
Well, I suppose what we do as a school, we do pretty well. There's been some good investments in the past in our school and things like that. So we don't let kids miss out at Bluff School. So like nobody misses out and things. But
What I mean is if there's no pool in Bluff,
how
many kids would miss out altogether?
I'd suggest you'll lose. A lot of people stay in Bluff. That's my general. Like there's a bit of old school there. Nothing against Bluff, but like people use the Foursquare to do their shopping. So a lot of families stay in Bluff. So it's sort of, I would say you'll lose a large percentage of kids who do swim, and somewhere to start as well. Like I think that's what we've seen is these kids are starting in Bluff, and now they're building up the top ones who want to be swimmers, but as well as someone said before, I think it's a life skill as well that they need around water and things like that. Like a lot of our kids, unfortunately, jump off wharfs or they jump off rocks on the corner of, and for us, we freak out, but they need that skill to be able to swim to survive as well, because you can't, kids, unfortunately, you can't stop them jumping off wharfs and things like that, but they do it, and that's part of Bluff really, so yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Councillor Soper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Jeff, are you feeling, or could you say whether or not you think families will definitely use the pool more, including the families of your students, if there is the key entry option?
I probably couldn't answer that, but I think you will get more people using it, but it's just, will it be looked after as well? By having that, you don't have people in charge of a pool, and you let people come in at any time or things like that, or it's monitored so it's closed at a certain time. So I mean, it's just things like that, I suppose, and Yeah, and I think, you know, like if you take the money away and you've got a pool committee who has to run it, and then those people move along, unfortunately you might lose that pool. I know the cost of, you know, I heard about the cost at the last meeting I went to and things like that are really expensive. So it's probably just, you know, I think people would use it if it was advertised right and things like that. So, yeah.
You haven't had experience in your teaching career of any of the rural schools that have a school community pool at the moment?
No, I did work at Lockyer. We didn't have a pool there, but we had to go travel to different places to make it work. Like, for example, like our little kids, we used to use Winton Pool, but it's too deep, the Winton Pool, for the younger kids, so we used Makareva. So, I mean, that was a cost to the school, but it was a safety thing as well, Leslie. So,
Thank you.
cool.
Councillor Lewis.
Quick question, Chair, if I may. Jeff, health and safety issues, if you had a key operation, what security monitoring of different age groups that could get into trouble, do you think might, what I'm trying to ask, what sort of health and safety issues do you think could arise if there was ready availability to anybody who have access to a swipe card, for example?
Yeah, I suppose it's where the health and safety law is growing with that, eh? Like,
Yeah. Whose
if someone does
responsibility?
drown, and you know, does it go on the pool committee or does it go on who's the owner? That's probably a very important thing as well, because as much as you might have a key and a parent can use it to get them in, some of the kids will go in by themselves. So that's probably the hard thing with the key, and how you manage that would be the tough question. But I suppose other schools, other places do it.
Yes, I'm not aware with the whole system, so I'm just asking if you knew.
No, cool.
Thanks very much.
No worries.
No further questions? Thanks, Jeff. You made it. Thanks for making the submission and for coming in this afternoon.
Well, thanks for your time, mate.
Carolyn. All right. So we're just going to enable technology.
Kia ora, Carolyn speaking.
Kia ora, Carolyn. It's the Invercargill City Council calling. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, very well, thank you. Yes, hello.
This is
Just
a new
waiting
process for us.
Won't be a minute. I'm just making a bottle.
Oh, okay.
And there it goes.
I'll give you a moment.
Thank you.
We don't want
Here we go.
we don't want the catastrophe.
I'll just go to the quiet room. Sorry, I thought I could get a minute in before.
I like your optimism.
There we go.
Carolyn, thank you very much for making a submission. We've got all the councillors present. We've all had a chance to read through it, but essentially you've got the next 10 minutes to speak to it. And if you want to, leave a bit of time before your 10 minutes is up to make yourself available for any questions that councillors may have. We've had a couple of people just ahead of you who've been talking about the Bluff Swimming Pool, which of course is at the centre of your submission, but essentially it's over to you to share your thoughts and opinions with us from now.
Right. Thank you very much. Kia ora whānau. Kia ora everybody. I have not long moved to Bluff, about 4 years ago, but I've found that I've used the pools, and I've found that over the years it's a great little pool, and my daughter and I have been, my daughter particularly helps with the swimming and that, and I think having the Bluff pool there is actually great for the community because families don't have to travel into town, and you kind of, and a lot of the swimming clubs and that swimming lessons in town start, if I can remember rightly, from 3 onwards, and you have school finishing and things like that, and so you need to allow for like a good 2 hours to get there and swim, prep, and then come back. But also, yes, if we had a pool here in town, here in Bluff, if we kept it open, not just through summer, but all year round, because the winter time, I think, is also a really good time to have a pool open. I used to live in Auckland, and we lived at the pools because, it was warm water. It was just something extra for the young ones to do, for my, children to do. Also, I thought having the pool as well is an incentive for tourists that come through Bluff. You can't always go for a dip in the ocean. So just having a pool, a community pool where they can drive to, and because Bluff's not such a, it's not so big, they can just veer off to the right and up the hill, 2 blocks up there. And I say this because when I was in Wairua on holiday one time during the winter, I was a bit messed up the mountain. We thought, right, we'll go down to the local pool, which we did in winter, and it was, inside heated, and that's what sort of, that gave me the idea of that, and also for like the likes of me, I work 8 to 5, and so, going for a swim before work, you'll be able to, I have gone for a swim and then been able to have a shower and then come straight to work. Whereas if we didn't have a pool and that opportunity for that, I'd have to allow like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to town, have a swim, get changed and then drive back. And it's just also when the children are old enough, like around pre-teens, because the community is quite close and everyone knows each other, they're actually able to take themselves to the pool with that safety and assuredness, knowing that that they can swim without parental supervision, over a certain age. I don't know what else to say here.
Caroline, I'll ask a question I asked of an earlier submitter. If there's additional funds required that are expected from council, do you think it's fair for that funding to come from a targeted rate for the residents of Bluff?
A targeted, what was that?
So it's an additional rate that only the residents of Bluff would pay, shared in amongst the Bluff community.
We pay that?
You pay a
We pay
rate
that
along
in
with
our
everybody
own
else for the swimming pool in Invercargill, yes, and for the current grant that's given.
So do you reckon, are you saying that the additional grant is going to be separate to what is on our rates?
No, what I was asking is, do you think it would be fair if there was additional funding to be provided for that to be a targeted rate on Bluff, or alternatively something that the whole city should carry?
I think it's the whole thing the city should carry, because isn't Bluff part of Invercargill? Don't we fall under that umbrella? I mean, I think, doesn't Bluff fall under the Invercargill City Council? So when you say that targeted rate, you mean targeted and put it on to our rates as a separate from the Invercargill City Pool? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't think it should be. I think it should be included in I think it should, whatever is in that pool for the Invercargill City Pool, I think Bluff should come into. I don't think Bluff should be targeted as a separate rate. No.
It's a question that I asked of another submitter, so I'm just asking it. Councillors, open to other questions?
Yes.
No, there are none.
Oh, there are none?
Carolyn, thank you very much for
my submission.
Thanks for making the submission and for speaking to us this afternoon. Obviously, you've got a busy afternoon.
Oh, I'm actually on my lunch break now, so if you've got any more, I've got 15 minutes.
Yeah, we haven't.
I'd love to spend 15 minutes with the council.
Thanks kindly for the offer, Carolyn, but we'll get behind. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome. Ngā mihi nui.
Kia ora.
Ka kite.
Michelle and Jamie.
Excellent.
Kia ora everyone. My name is Jamie Lamali, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of the Bluff Swimming Club and the Bluff community in hope of encouraging the Invercargill City Council to continue providing annual operating funds and support to our Bluff Swimming Club. Bluff is a small community surrounded by the rough and often treacherous Bovo Strait. We're a community of fishing and oystering, and we are a community already short of opportunities for our children and families. Our swimming pool is a critical asset to our community. For the past 15 years, I have been part of the Bluff Swimming Club as a parent, a coach, and as of 2019, the president. Our season runs currently from October to April, 2 nights a week, and we currently have 3 hours a night with 9 groups and about between 80 and 90 children registered both nights, the full season. We solely run on volunteers, and our club has successfully been going since the swimming pool was erected, and I believe it was actually prior to that as well, with carpooling to Invercargill with only a small amount of children. We have great community support with many parents helping with lessons by either being a parent help or coaching, fundraising, and we're very fortunate to have a lot of businesses back us. Swimming club is solely designed for our children to learn to swim, and currently our biggest age group is 5 to 6 year olds. These children are not only learning to swim, but are also learning to be safe in and around water, which we cover with water survival nights throughout the season, usually at the end of the season. Being a port town surrounded by water, learning to swim and be safe around the water is critical. As the children progress through the club, they focus on technique and distance swimming. Before graduating and finishing, most of our swimmers finish with a mile badge in either 1 or all strokes. A lot of parents put this onto the children as they have to finish with the club before they can do this before they can finish. We have a group of children that swim competitively at both regional and national levels, and we host 3 significant meets throughout the season. Southland Wide competitive meet, a Southland Wide Have a Go swimming meet, and our club champs at the end of the season. Most recent event, we've seen 90 competitive swimmers from around Southland and Otago come to Bluff for the day. The pool is also used for many other groups: school swimming, adult fitness, rehabilitation, and public sessions. My own children spend many hours at the pool, as this is one of the only facilities available for our young children in Bluff to have fun and enjoy their freedom in a supervised all-weather venue. Without a swimming pool, none of the above will be available for our community, and our children will miss out on the great life skills of learning to swim and will lack vital water safety skills which they need when they're swimming at our beaches and wharfs. I believe there are so many opportunities for our swimming pool to grow, but more importantly, I think it needs to stay open and be supported by our City Council and our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Georgia, do you want to swing that microphone over?
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko tōku maru te waka, ko taranaki te maunga, ko urunui te awa, ko Ngāti Murutunga te iwi, ko Ngāti Hine Tuhi te hapu, ko urunui te marae, no taranaki ahau, engari kei te noho ki tōku whānau ki roto I mō te pohue mō 5 koutou. Ko Michelle Kāpō tōku ingoa, ko William Rogers Hoff tōku hoatāne, ko Maia Me Mikaere ōku tamariki, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, my name is Michelle. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to be heard today. I think the Bluff Swimming Pool plays a crucial role in our Bluff community. It gives our tamariki the opportunity to thrive in swimming sports and the opportunity to learn a skill that could save their life in the long run. I am coming here as a parent. I currently have 2 children enrolled with the Bluff Swimming Club. They have been there for 2 years and doing extremely well. And without the Bluff Swimming Pool, I don't think this would be something that they could do. Myself and my husband work full time, and with that, I don't think we'd have the opportunity to bring them into town. It's just not feasible for us. Yep. Excuse me. And I don't think it would be feasible for at least 80% of our whānau involved in the Bluff Swimming Club to travel to town 2 times a week. I strongly support and strongly encourage the ICC to continue providing annual operating funds to the Bluff Community Swimming Pool. There's no doubt in my mind that the closure of this pool will result in a huge decline of our tamariki and Bluff not swimming, and worst case scenario, lead to a death in Te Aroha. Thank you.
Kia ora, Michelle. Thank you very much for speaking to your submission. Councillors, it's open to you to have questions for Jamie and Michelle. Councillor Lewis, then Councillor Soper.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for an enthralling presentation. You used the term supervised venue, Jamie. Previous submitters have been talking about key card entries. Would you be for that, or would you prefer continued supervised? I mean, the Bluff Swimming Club obviously is supervised, but for freedom for people outside normal swimming club hours to have key card access, would you be for that?
Not for children alone.
No.
If there was some rules with families supervising their own children, yeah, that's fine. Not with under
Yes.
12s.
Yeah, but
anyway.
I just wonder.
It's
Yeah.
just an adult supervision, whether it be, family member. I think that's something that would.
Yes, I just wondered how that would be
Yeah.
controlled. I can't make comments, but I'm just asking questions about how well do you think that would be supervised in the general public?
I think that would be well supervised and looked
Cheers.
after.
I think with the right criteria put in place before this happened, it would be a good thing.
Thank you. Kia ora, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Soper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. My question was similar. I was going to ask you both if you thought a swipeless entry would increase the usage of the pool. So if you've got any other comments on that.
Personally, for me, yes, it would increase. I mean, that means it would allow my husband, who also was a national representative for swimming, still holds records in Invercargill, to actually get back in the pool before, work. And I think we would use it more personally as a family more often.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? There are none. Thank you very much for taking the time to come in and present to us this afternoon. Well done. Thank you.
Very much.
Ian, welcome along.
Thank you.
So just to draw councillors' attention to the fact that there are two submissions here, one that Ian's made personally, one on behalf of the Community Pool Trust.
So I'll just make a clarification there. I didn't actually ask to request on my personal submission.
Okay,
my
so you're
focus
just here for the Bluff one?
My focus here is the pool.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it just must be just a mix up there. I think I would bore you a little bit with my other personal opinions about things. But Bluff is the focus. And that's why I'm involved with the Bluff Trust, the Bluff Swimming Pool Trust, is because of a shared passion that Bluff has for the pool. So I'd like to thank my fellow submitters here. Some brilliant words there, Jamie and Michelle, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank the City Council for the past 9 years of funding that the Bluff Pool has had, has allowed the pool to keep operating. And I don't know how many hundreds of kids have gone through there since, but lots. So that's been really appreciated. Reasons to keep the pool. Children is the biggest item that we need to keep the pool for. When our children need to learn to swim. Everybody in Bluff lives and plays and works around the water. Being able to swim is critical. And that goes without saying for the whole New Zealand, but especially for Bluff. The school swimming, both schools in Bluff use the pool for their swimming curriculum, and without that there'd be substantial cost and time lost to those children in their learning stage of life. So they need to have a pool in Bluff to learn to swim. we also need to keep our older children active, our youth. There's Bluff is quite limited on what it has for youth, and the swimming pool is a critical place for those youth to go. We want to keep them active. There's a real push in New Zealand for active communities, and there's a lot of funding around for active communities too. So we need to push for that. Also, access to the pool for our seniors. We have a strong core of seniors that use the pool as part of their daily routine. Being active in the older years is really important. As I get to the other side of 50, I start feeling that as well. It helps with many things: fitness, bone density, osteoporosis. There's all sorts of things. I won't get technical about that because I don't know a lot about it. But one item that I think is that the council should consider is it actually keeping the pool open provides the city council with future options around pools. I note in the LTP that the tail end of the LTP, there's $8 million talked about for another pool for Invercargill City. We already have one. City Council's got the one in Bluff. It's just maybe not thought through cleverly enough, or as may not be attractive enough to draw Invercargill people south. But I think there is strong opportunity to utilise tight timeframes at the City Council, at the Splash Palace, that could be used at Bluff. Things like dive clubs, or maybe the dive club can't get in at 8 o'clock at night when it's busy doing swim club stuff at Splash Palace. Well, they could head to Bluff. Many of you probably don't know the Bluff pool, but it is a very good asset. It's a competition pool, 25 metres, good depth. It's a brilliant pool. Many other clubs and groups use the pool. You've heard from the swim club. I've been involved with Te Arakiwa Sea Scouts, and we use the pool widely as well. And the swimmers that come out of Bluff are brilliant swimmers. We have several swimmers now that are competing nationally and regionally. Te Arakiwa are the current holders of the intermediate swim trophy for the National Sea Scouts, and that's purely because of the Bluff swimming pool and work done previously with the swim club. We mentioned earlier about the future of Bluff being bright. Well, it is. There's certainly a real swing going on at the moment. I say this quite often, but Bluff is run by the mothers, and it's so true. And at the moment, there's a whole tight core of Bluff mothers driving their kids to be active and doing new and different things. And so the pool is a key part of that. So part of our submission is around trying to actually save some costs from the current funding model that we've got. And part of the thinking there is to provide, as well as open sessions which are staffed, but to also provide a key entry. Now, there's a great deal of thought that has to be put into that. We're only really at the front end of it, but our current thinking is that we will be able to provide a membership to the pool that provides a family with a key, and to have that key, they would have to go through an induction process. They'd have to go through the entire list of what they can and can't do, the shalls and shall nots, safety briefings, the whole lot. And we feel that we could manage it that way in a safe manner. We do have a request that we can run a trial. You're probably aware that the $180,000 grant runs for one further year till 2022. We would like to put in place the key system this season, but maintaining the current grant, to trial the system just to confirm that we can actually run the pool as we think we can for a reduced operating cost. The budgets we've put together at the moment for that reduced cost is $120,000 per annum, which provides a significant saving. Just as an aside, if we did have our grant reduced, I'd be very keen to see that money still spent in Bluff. The other reason we need the confirmation of the operating funds is to so that we can seek funding for upgrades. We've had discussions with the ILT Foundation and Community Trust of Southland and also lotteries about funding, and understandably they are not interested in providing any funding until we have our operating funds resolved. Just makes total sense. So that's another key reason why we want to confirm this funding, and for a good period of time. And in our submission, we've asked for 10 years again, another 10 years, the full LTP, but also to have it adjusted for inflation against the CPI. And that gives us some surety at the tail end of the 10 years that our funding is going to cover the costs as they increase. So that's probably about it, I think.
Thanks, Ian.
Hopefully get some questions in, sorry.
So if you're looking at having your current operating grant maintained and you're able to reduce your OPEX down, leaving 60k, would you be better to be putting that away for capital expenditure? If we kept it at the current level.
Okay, if we keep it at $180,000 per annum, we would be able to provide a more improved, a better service. I think that we would. I'm probably speaking off the cuff here a little bit, but I would suggest that we would provide a better service, but still achieve our grants via the normal funding avenues. We'd be better off using that money to increase our season, maybe go into the shoulders of the season, into the winter a little bit. If we do our upgrade and get the funds we need, our plant will be modern and efficient and easy to run. The building will have good insulation. The ceilings won't drip with water. All those sorts of things. We'll have a great facility that potentially we could run into some winter months, and still keep our operating costs down. Yeah.
Councillor Kett.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ian. I suppose heating would be one of your major costs down there, is that right?
Absolutely, yes. We have an electric boiler at the moment, effectively, and electric heating and ventilation.
Is there any more efficient way that you could perhaps heat?
Our current heating and ventilation system is on its last legs. So that's what prompted the whole start of this about 2 years ago, was when we started looking into replacing that system. So it needs replaced now. It's in danger of failing.
Right.
So a new system will be more efficient because heat pump technology, all that sort of thing. And also, I know Noel here has suggested to me that we really should be looking into solar and heating as well, which is definitely an option. We've got a nice sloped roof that faces northwest.
So with the opening of the hydro slides at Splash Palace, do you think you may lose some of your patronage from down there, or
no? Totally different client base. Our children do not get the opportunity to say at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I want to go to the Splash Palace. Mum and Dad aren't available. Mum's busy, Dad's working, Mum's working. It just doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, thank you very much.
In town, they can jump on the bike,
Yep, you're right. I suppose most of the parents do take from Invercargill to the pool, but
Thanks, Ian. Your worship.
Yes, I was just wondering, we faced a lot of similar problems and challenges 9 years ago. What was the main difference between the situation then and the situation now?
I suppose the situation then was the focus was entirely on keeping the pool open. At that time, that Bluff felt that there's an asset being stripped away from us, being taken off us. To the council's credit, they've agreed to fund it for these 10 years, but now we have an even better opportunity to grow the numbers of children that go to the pool, adults that go to the pool, by providing this key system. It's exciting because we've got the chance to make it a desirable place for local Bluffies as well as Invercargill City people to attend the poll.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. No further questions? Thank you for your submission, and thank you for taking the time to come along this afternoon.
Thank you.
From Bluff to Maui. John. Welcome to the meeting, John. Please have a seat.
Good afternoon. My name is John Collins. I'm a resident of Maui, and my purpose here is to present a petition from 40 Maui residents and road users asking for Maui and Mokomoko roads to be sealed. The 40 named people include our mail contractor, who uses the road 6 days a week, and YMCA South, who own and operate the camp at Maui. The rest are all genuine adult road users who are residents. There are no minors or occasional visitors on the list. The names represent about 85% of the Maui community who were approached. The Bluff Community Board has provided a letter of support, as has the YMCA. I'm told that you have all read or seen a copy of the petition, and the reasons why we want the road sealed are included there. Extra to that is a letter from Lisa and Stephen Taylor, who live on Mokomoko Road, or Maui, listing 4 separate incidents that happened to them on the road, all of which are basically caused by the state of the road, and have been reported to the council. One of them was a battery terminal coming off their vehicle, coming around the corner on Mokomoko Road, where the corrugations are really bad. And it sounds a bit incredulous, but I can believe that that would happen. Sometimes it's really, really bad there. We have to slow down to 10 kilometres per hour or less to get around there without jumping off the road. Just further to that petition, the reasons given there, I just want to say a bit about Maui is changing. It's one of the hidden gems of the ICC area. It's a beautiful place, north-facing beach. It's being discovered. The community is growing. New houses are being built. Sections are being cleared for sale, and existing houses are being upgraded. There's quite a bit of money being spent out there. Prices of houses and land are going up, and more people are living here and using the road. Well, Maui is moving up market. Residents use the road to go to work in town, take kids to the school bus, and generally go about their business. Residents' families come in and out to visit, as do tradespeople, delivery services, mail, gas, etc., rubbish pickup, and occasionally emergency services. Maui, the place, has become incredibly popular with beachgoers and bushwalkers. Summer days can see better than 50 vehicles parked in the car parks, on the beach, and on the roadside. The stream of vehicles coming and going continues all day. It's constant. Even wintertime sees significant numbers of people using the beach and bushwalks. People come in and out to do voluntary work on track maintenance and pest control. Most of these people are ICC ratepayers/residents. The YMCA camp is often busy and sees a steady flow of school buses, visiting parents, support people, and other camp users on the road. Some of these people are terrified by the road. It can be seen on their faces as you drive past them. White knuckles on steering wheels. All of these activities impact on the road. The road is dangerous and dangerously overused. It is well past its use-by date, and frankly, it's an embarrassment. It's third world, and yes, I have lived in the third world. I believe it would cost between 600,000 to $1 million to seal the 4 kilometres of Omaui and Moko roads. This is not a large sum for a permanent, genuinely useful piece of infrastructure. There's an opportunity here for this council to be seen to be creating necessary, worthwhile infrastructure for a growing community in a place that is a great recreational destination for many Southland families. I believe that our road is listed number 5 on a list of roads to be sealed. Well, we want to be bumped up to number 1 priority. While this presentation is supported by a large majority of Omaui residents, there still needs to be consultation on how the village is managed. That's the road in the village. My personal preference, and I'm only speaking for myself here, is to have a 30 km/h speed limit from just east of the YMCA camp, coupled with speed control devices such as speed humps or chicanes. We already have a Facebook group running. It's called Fix Omaui Road. That could be a good place to start consultation with the people who live in Omaui. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, John. Councillors, it's over to you for questions. Councillor Clark, then Councillor Lewis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. John, just a couple of quick things there for you. I got the cost. How many houses? How many houses down in the village? Ballpark figure?
Probably close to 40 now.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned the length of the roads, and I missed that. So if you could just...
It's roughly 4 kilometres.
Yep, thank you.
Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. John, an ongoing problem. The road maintenance, how frequently do you see a grader down there? How frequently do you see a grader doing any remedial work down there? Because I believe some of those... Oh, sorry, I won't comment. I just... if you can answer my question, please.
We're constantly putting in requests for service.
Yeah.
I put one in 10 days ago. It hasn't happened yet. The road is appalling at the moment.
Is it,
and one thing I did forget to say, I did miss out of there, was that when it rains heavily, which it did through last night, the sides of the roads just get washed out, which means there's even less room to move over on hill crests.
Thank you. That was the next question I was going to ask, but thanks for answering that.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
So, yeah.
Councillor Lush.
Sorry, John, is there a group in Omaui that don't want the road sealed, that have approached me and said that they want the road remediated, but they don't want it sealed because they don't want the undesirable people arriving there? Is that a concern? I had an involved conversation with someone who said that a lot of the community don't want the road sealed because of meth dealers and people arriving there, and that seemed to be quite a valid concern.
Yeah.
Is there two groups in Omaui? Is there a split in Omaui of what people want?
There's several different groups in Omaui, but this group is 40 names, is a large majority.
Okay.
And as I said, I did the maths. About 85% of the people who were approached agreed and signed. There were some people that weren't approached for various reasons. And there were some people who didn't want to sign for various reasons. The reason that you've said is I have heard that said, but I don't believe that it's any different, will be any different if the road was sealed to what it is now. I mean, we have people charging around down there at night, particularly on the beach, doing wheelies in the car park. It's no different. I don't think it would be.
So you don't see a downside to it being sealed?
Not really, no.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Pottinger.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, John, just looking at the map to give me an insight. So the main straight bit coming off State Highway 1, you go past several gravel pits.
Yes.
That must be commercially used.
Yes.
And then you do that real hard right all the way down to the community. So that road, that first road, Is it in worse condition than the other because of there obviously must be heavy trucks for servicing the gravel pits? Is that the same condition? Is that straight road that takes you all the way in to a Maui? Is that the same condition?
Which is tar sealed.
That's tar sealed.
It's tar sealed, yes.
Oh, right. Okay. So got you. Right. So that's a long straight bit.
Yes.
Right. Right. And so the degradation of this road, I mean, this is the first time I've sort of heard it in 11 years on council. I'm just wondering, is it just been one of those annoying things you've tolerated and it's just, or
No,
is the actual maintenance dropped off on it, or?
No, maintenance hasn't dropped off on it. It's just been used by a lot more people.
Right, and that's
As I
good.
said, the beach has become increasingly popular, incredibly popular, but there's more people living there, more people coming in and out, more residents. It's just being used more and more.
No, that's cool. That's answered my question. Thanks. Good.
From my recollection, I think there was one other previous approach to council to have the road sealed as well, that I can recall. Thank you. Any further questions? If not, thank you for your submission, for the petition, and for the letters of support that you've presented in it.
Cheers.
Straight
Chris.
roads have got to be. You land a plane down there.
Jen.
Welcome along, Chris. You're familiar with the procedure for a hearing?
Thank you. Yes, I am. I've come with two hats today, Mr. Chairman. One, Friends of the Museum, which I had to put in as a late entry because the Survey Monkey wouldn't let me do a second survey, second submission, but it chimes in with what I've written as a citizen, because it mainly focuses on retaining the location of the museum where it is, and the shape of the museum is an iconic shape. So if you could just take that as read, it's somewhere. I think Gemma took a copy of it, but I didn't get one back, but it doesn't really matter because that's all it was. I've been part of this infrastructure for 75 years, so I think I have a little bit of knowledge about this wonderful city. I have ridden on the trams that were still around in the 1950s, I think it was. I was only little. So I do have a stake in the city, and I have also read Jane Jacobs' Life and Death of Great American Cities, which, when I spoke to my submission about the centre of town, had a very positive response from a young man who was thrilled that somebody had actually read it. So I do speak from a bit of background knowledge, both in terms of living here and working here, and also as a now a person who comes into town from Lumsden under arduous conditions today to be part of what the city has to offer. And the comment about the city centre, I'm a bit fretful about that, because I was part of the group that was supposedly consulted about the inner city plan. I came with my forest and bird hat on, had lots of good ideas, having recently experienced what happens in a 1.5 million city called Vienna, and also as a person who uses the footpaths and the streets for the last 60 plus years. So that's why I'm grumpy about what you've done with the city centre plan. And as a driver and as a person who uses these areas, I need a simple, coherent plan along the lines of what we have now, but it can be vastly improved with the right sort of plantings, colour in the buildings, and verandas. Once upon a time they were mandatory. Now they seem to be as fairly haphazard. But I do urge you to look at the reality of needing verandas to get from one shop to another. We're not all going to be buying things from the mall, I can assure you of that. I've given you some ideas, have plenty of other ones, and I'm still grumpy about the loss of a perfect playground area, which would have been in the centre of the retail CBD, great for families and shoppers, dads looking after the kids while mum goes shopping. Something like the Margaret Mahi playground would have fitted perfectly in the area, which is now lost to a car park, and the irony is not lost on me either. Now, well, go to the Southern Museum and Art Gallery. Of course, I'm terribly keen on that because I go back to right back to Mr. Mackenzie and Russell Beck in terms of visiting my favourite museum. The Friends are involved now with looking at the future of the museum, and as a SMAG member, I also am part of that. But I'm sure the wider community are just waiting to be asked what their thoughts are. Why I'm keen on, in the interim, looking at some of the heritage buildings that the council owns is that you have some golden opportunities to showcase what can be done with adaptive reuse of buildings that are presently being allowed to be demolished by neglect. And I know that the Mayor was very fretful and upset about what was happening to the Kingston Flyer. And he, of course, is now thrilled, I'm sure, to know that the Kingston Flyer is now alive and well and living back on the railway line. But it's too easy to pull down heritage buildings under the pretext that they're unsafe and unhygienic. That's a cop-out, and I would like to think that the council would actually look at the buildings they own just down by the railway station. And there are a couple of other buildings that are very high on many people's lists, should be refurbished, and those are the two that are presently owned by the hospital next to McDonald's. They have such a potential for new use, not least as showcases for those collections that we know probably won't be able to be housed in the museum for a long time. And so they could be like Te Wakahui, who are put into those buildings and showcased to Invercargill and visitors, because we've got some very special collections at the museum, presently languishing because of our lost impetus. And I did talk about that building being a shining example of what you can do, and so I'd like to think that we can be much more creative about what we do with the collections in the meantime. And you've got all the rest of my things here. Can I just put in a couple of comments? The NZTA have been very remiss in properly funding our main roads, and that's why I put in about the ones going through the city. I've taken 5 years with the NZTA to shift a couple of signs, still haven't got it right, so I'm not very happy about them. So I think they should be really approached. It's not a subsidy, it's road user charges, of which I pay some, and I think it's a proper. They have the say, so they should pay about what happens to those two main arteries. And the other thing is to look at the water supply for the future. I understand that there is what would you call it? You're looking at the estuary aquifer as a means of taking the pressure off Branksholme and the lower Reti when it's dry. Long time ago, talk was of getting in tanks for every building in Invercargill. That would take the pressure off the Areti and Branksholme. It would also provide you with grey water uses, which are the first things to go when there's a drought. And I think that would be well worth looking at, and I'd be happy to work with somebody to do that. And I hope you get involved with Kings Bend. I suspect it's going to be one hell of a fight. And I would like to think that you and the recycling centre have a really important role in playing in the future around what I talk about in reuse, recycling, urban mining, composting and base materials for other uses. So I wish you well in that. I hope that Nobby will take up the cudgels on our behalf and on the behalf of Southland, and that anyone else who's keen on that will do the same. I didn't talk anything about rates apart from the fact that I mentioned in Southland District Council one that people have gone through a pretty horrendous time with COVID-19 and still haven't come out of it yet. And I asked them to look for a rates moratorium for this year until the world settles down post-vaccination.
Thanks, Chris. It's open for questions. Councillors. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chair. Christine, just wanted to wear your hat of Friends of the Museum. I heard what you was reflecting on, that we could use some of our heritage buildings to display art and other things. while we deal with the museum issue. What I'd be interested to know is what your organisation, Friends of the Museum, feels about the proposal, or one of the proposals on the long-term plan around the 52 million and 5.5 year project.
We haven't gotten that far. We've had Wayne coming to talk to us about all the various options, and also he's taken some of us around inside the museum so we could look for ourselves at the interior, which is a fairly sobering exercise. I don't think we can talk money at this stage, Nobby. I think we really have to look at the architects, the plans, and you could put a round figure on it, perhaps as a start of 30 million. That seems to be quite a good start. Laminated timber buildings, we've been discussing with Wayne. I have, anyway. There are lots of options, but I think it's too soon to actually pick a number, apart from making it modest in initial stages and then working from there. As I say, bells and whistles later. Let's get it back to where we can actually go in again and enjoy what it has to offer.
Councillor Pottinger.
Hi, Christine.
Hi.
You mentioned here that you wish to retain the pyramid shape.
Yes.
Now, can you explain why you would do that? It's just purely from a point of view that it's not a most practical shape of fitting things into corners and straight walls against walls and things like that. And if it had been designed originally as a cube, would you have wanted to retain the cube? So are you trying to retain something that's become iconic, or you just think that the pyramid is a wonderful design?
I think it's become iconic. I also think that I'd like to be third. I'd like Invercargill to be third on the list after the pyramids at Giza and the Louvre in Invercargill. Why not? Let's think positively about what Invercargill has to offer. The most southernmost pyramid in the world.
So the other alternative, would you be happy if, perchance, a new design took on board a component like the Louvre pyramid is just outside, it's a feature outside, or would you want to be in boots and all for a total pyramid?
Gumboots and all, actually.
Gumboots and all. No, you've answered the question.
No, I think again, it has to come up to practicality and features, but I do think there's a general consensus out there. The iconic shape in some form has to remain, but in what final form, we've got a lot of talking to do about that yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks once again for your passion
Cheers.
and for going to the effort of making your submission and sharing your thoughts with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Gloria. On behalf of the Bluff Community Board, welcome.
Everybody. Worship the Mayor, councillors. Bluff Community Board have put this to submission in. We think is relevant for Bluff because we've so many motorhomes are coming to Bluff now, larger, and I know we have one, the camping ground in Bluff, but the buses aren't able to get in there because it's a situation where it is put, and because we're the five-wheelers, they can't get into there, and plus there's larger caravans that carry their wastewater and grey water, and they can't manoeuvre properly. So we're looking at putting that another dump station be put into Bluff. Because we're because we're getting more coming to Bluff now, camper vans, because we've got Stirling Point, we're finding it hard for them to move around there, and we find that the facilities aren't adequate for them. We look possibly sites suggested could be near the Bluff sign, coming into Bluff, or at Ocean Beach. Or plus we've got Argyle Park round there, could be ideal places for to put another dump station. The other application we're looking at was another toilet. We've got a playground that's frequently used by children, and there's no toilet. They are going they are going in amongst the trees and urinating, which is not very hygienic. And plus that toilet was moved by the council a long time back, and it was moved up to the up by the service centre. So really we do need that third toilet. There's one round at Stirling Point, but you can't expect a child to go from the playground where the town hall is, either up to the service centre or round to Stirling Point. It's impossible. Plus we have Morrison's Beach, just a minute's walk, and they're going in behind the trees that are there. I think we need to look at another toilet.
Thanks, Gloria. How long ago did the Exelou shift from outside the old town hall down to the service centre? When was that?
When they did the alterations to the main part of
so quite some time.
town, so it's been gone for a wee while.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Councillor Lush.
Yes, great idea about the toilet. They need that certainly for the schools at Morrison's Beach, and that's often used. Would it not be a better idea to put the toilet where the playground is now and move the playground across the road to the proposed site that you're talking about for the toilet? Because the playground, despite some of the submitters saying it's world class, is terribly cold and not in a very good place. I mean, after 2 or 3 o'clock, it's in shade, and I can't imagine why anyone ever built the playground there. Would it be possible to put the playground on the other side of the road? So the toilet's in that ground where next to the Lighthouse Cafe? Because that would be better, wouldn't it?
No. You've got all the pipes and everything are there. Where the town hall is, where the old one was, would have been better to put it back where the toilet was in the first place than cutting the playground smaller.
So you think the playground should remain where it is?
I agree.
Despite the fact that it's in shade all day?
Yep, it is fine where it is.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. Gloria, in about 2011, I think the New Zealand Motorhomes Association made a presentation to the Bluff Community Board, and at that time they were talking about helping funding. Have you been in contact with New Zealand Motorhome Association?
No, I haven't.
Okay, because I think you mentioned the Ocean Beach area, private land. How would they feel about that? Because I think the turning circle there might be better than down to Stirling Point for motor vans.
Yeah, I think if we negotiated with them, talked with them, I'm sure that they would come to an agreement.
Thank you. Would you be interested in asking the chair of the Bluff Community Board to enter into negotiations with them to see how they felt about it?
I certainly would.
Thanks, Gloria.
Further questions for Gloria? If not, thanks, Gloria. As always, we value your presence and your input on this instance on behalf of the Bluff Community Board.
Thank you very much.
Councillors, here's where we adjourn this hearing for this afternoon. It reconvenes tomorrow morning at 9 promptly. We will take a short break and open with the Performance Policy and Partnerships Committee at 3. Just a reminder that we will adjourn that meeting if we've not already finished for the extraordinary infrastructural services meeting at 4 o'clock. And if we have any business to finish for PPP, we'll come back and do that after infrastructure. Thanks. We are adjourned.
Oh no.
I was trying to work out in Bluff where it was.